Hello, I'm Mr. Rogers,
And I'm Mrs. Froman.
and you were watching the video notes for animals. Those really be more about characteristics of animals, so sections 1.1 and 1.2 in your book.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a long one. We got a lot to do with
Yeah.
animals because there's a lot going on. When we talk about animals, this is our final kingdom we're studying this year. We don't have enough time to study, like you see here, the million different species. So we kind of stick to different phylums of living things. When we talk about a species of animal, it's a group of organisms that can mate and produce fertile offspring, so you can pass that DNA on. We've been talking about that with evolution in our classes this week. So worldwide, over 1 million species. And again, we're discovering new species, especially in that insect world, every year.
Yeah, and even some mammals. And
They found I heard a couple mammals in the rainforest. They go and they keep
so it's
finding
amazing
them.
we keep finding things. But.
So, and of that million, you think about insects, over 950,000 species of insects. And we just keep finding more too.
7,000 new ones every year. Eek.
In contrast to mammals, we are only about 4,000. So that diversity definitely lives in the insect phylum or arthropod phylum.
Then we have just the diversity in Illinois. We have 17,000 or over 17,000 native insects. So that doesn't include all the non-native ones that have come in. About 60 native mammals, so big difference in the numbers in there too. And in 1999, which seems like a long time ago, but 3 new spider species were actually found in Lake County, just outside of Chicago. So we're finding them not only in the rainforest, but right here in Illinois. So.
And so what makes an animal an animal is kind of what we're going to focus on here for a while. So we're multicellular, we have many cells. And there's an organization to our cells too. So cells are grouped together to form tissue. So cells, the tissue. Tissue is combined to form organs. Think about, heart, muscle, that tissue forms the heart. And organs working together form that organ system. So, I would definitely put on the blank notes here, but also I would put this little chart in your notes also. So cells organized to tissue, tissue to organs, organ to organ systems, kind of levels of organization within different animals.
And animals have to have food. We are all heterotrophs, so we have to eat other organisms, whether they're plants or animals.
Like bacon.
And bacon, yes.
As bad as it for you as it is. It's good.
Yes, it sure tastes good. Most animals take food into a cavity inside their bodies and then digest it so the body can use it for energy. So we have a stomach. Not all animals have a stomach, but they have some type of cavity where that's digested. Of course, a shark takes in anything it can get.
That's right. And so, we've been talking about with how things evolve over time, passing on that DNA. And so, it's all about being able to reproduce and pass those genes on. That's kind of why we get a lot of the traits we see. It's all about surviving to pass the genes on.
Right.
And so with animals, there's sexual reproduction where half the DNA comes from the father, half comes from the mother. And this happens when the egg is fertilized by sperm, so male and female cells join together, and that DNA combines. You get half from each parent. And that creates a lot of diversity because that kind of constantly reshuffling the deck. The new DNA.
Yeah, that new organism is totally different from the two parents. Yeah. And there are a few more simple animals that still have asexual reproduction. So that's producing an organism identical to the parent. That picture there's a little hydra. They're not quite microscopic, but they're pretty small.
Yeah.
And they just do, it's kind of like yeast do with budding.
So new one just kind of starts to grow off and it gets big enough and it
just pops off and goes on its way.
So now, movement, we can move. So most animals move freely at some point in their lives. Thing we've got to find to eat, to find mates, escape danger, responding to your environment. But other guys like sponges, oysters, coral spend most of their lives stuck in one place. In the nymph stage, a lot of times they'll be able to swim around to latch
so
on
they're
to a
able
certain
to
place.
at least find a good spot to start.
Exactly. There's that cheetah. I see that about
that
fast.
has some movement, yes.
Yeah.
So meeting needs. What do animals need to survive? Obviously water, because most of the chemical reactions going on in our body need that water. Food is where we get our energy from. And oxygen is what we use to release that energy from the food. And then the environment has to provide most of those needs for us. And every animal has some type of adaptation, which is a characteristic that helps them survive in their environment, whether it's how they get their food, how they find shelter, how they hide from predators, that type of thing.
Those adaptations tend to be specific to where they're naturally found, I guess you could say.
To their natural environment. Yeah.
So these food adaptations, like different ways we can get that food we need.
Mm-hmm.
Some are herbivores that just eat plants.
Yeah.
And they have certain things that help them eat those plants. So we think about the teeth, like even like your molars for an extent the back
Yeah.
of your mouth. Here's looks like a deer, and that's the tooth is flatter. Does have some ridges, but it's meant more for grinding and chewing up plant material
Right.
all day. So grasshoppers, deer, panda, giraffes, we tend to have more of those type of teeth. They're just usually grinding up the plants before they swallow them.
Mm-hmm. Then there's the carnivores. These are the predators that hunt other animals. They have those sharp teeth,
Mhm.
claws, speed, good hearing, good eyesight. So lions, tigers.
They have the eyes
Sometimes
in
bears.
front of their head so they can see the
So-
depth of their prey. They want to
Yeah,
see depth.
good depth perception.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You can see there's those
So they're
canine.
canines, yeah. So
big old
those are meant for, if you look at even your dog's teeth,
Yeah,
they're meant to tear flesh.
that's what they do. And then omnivores, and I guess we really fall in that category.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, they're much more opportunistic. So they can eat plants and animals. So raccoons, bears, humans. They'll have those teeth, those canines, those sharp canines for tearing flesh they need to, but also some molars, so if they're eating plant material.
Yeah.
They can grind that up before they swallow it. So kind of a combination of both. So,
Then there's animals that have escape adaptations, which they're usually some type of a prey animal. So they want to get away from their predators. So they help escape from their predators. It could be spines, like a porcupine. It could be a shell, like a turtle, or a mollusk, a snail. They could have stingers or claws to fight back. Could be a bitter taste, like the bright colors usually
Indicates,
tell
yeah.
predators this does not taste good, so you don't even want to mess with it. Even there's a poison dart frog
Yeah.
that could kill them. And then there's the possum that likes to play dead.
play dead. They also naturally have like a bad odor, so they naturally smell like
yeah,
even
they
though
smell
they're still,
nice,
yeah.
So yeah, they can really fool you.
Yeah, a couple of things going for them. And so, how do we classify all these different, million different types of animals? So, we've talked about classification before, and it's based on those physical characteristics by and large. So they have similar characteristics, we're in the same phylum, down to class, order, family, genus, species. But also nowadays, much more we have DNA evidence. We're getting really good at documenting the genome of living things relatively quickly. I mean, the first time we did the human one, it took years and years and years, and now we can do it,
Right.
I think, in days. They can get
Yeah.
and see how animals are related by their DNA, not just by how they look also. So
Yeah, they've actually moved some animals from one phylum
Based
to
on
another
their DNA.
because they
Yep.
look like this, but they're really not related to that group. So then we have the invertebrates. Invertebrate means that they don't have a backbone.
Mm-hmm.
So that's things like jellyfish, worms, insects, snails, crabs, spiders, all the creepy crawly things
Yep,
that people
yep.
creep out about.
and tend to be smaller.
And
tend
yeah,
to be.
yeah, for the most
There's
part.
some
there's
big,
some big, well, there's some pretty big
Cnidarians, yeah,
crabs,
crabs.
and there's some big jellyfish.
Fish, yeah. On the other side of that, we have the vertebrates also fall into our animal kingdom. They have a backbone. The fish, amphibians, reptiles, birds, mammals all fall in this category. And vertebrate means a couple things. It has a backbone. At some point, they've got that kind of notochord
Notochord,
also
yeah.
in there too. Some other things that make them a vertebrate.
Then we talk about symmetry, what kind of symmetry the different organisms have. And there's the first type is radial symmetry, and you're going to find this in kind of the simpler animals. Their external body parts are equally spaced around a central point. So they don't have a front or a back.
One radius comes out, like radius in
Yeah.
a circle, like one radius
Yes.
out.
Yep. So jellyfish, sea anemones, sea urchins. So anything, if you could look down on it, it's kind of like a pie. Either way you cut it, it's going to be the same on each side.
So another type of symmetry we have is bilateral. So that means we can divide it in half and kind of a mirror image. So these tend to be larger, more complex animals. Humans are bilateral.
Yeah.
Cut it down the middle. It's the same.
One
So
eye on each side.
one eye on each side.
One arm on each
each side. Yep. So here's a crab or a crayfish. You can see you split that down the middle, and each side is a mirror of the other side. So they're similar that way. All right. So I know there's a lot there to copy down. Seventh grade, thank you guys for watching, and we will see you along the way.
Bye.